Okay, well, this is a sort of a favorite subject of mine. I'll give you a little context. I know it's a hokey movie, but the movie A Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life. Um, it it's a great metaphor. It's a stupid movie, but the whole idea of of contemplating or pondering the implications of your existence is, that's pretty powerful stuff. Um, you know, uh, you can't get bigger than that. Um, so, for me, if you go through if you know the movie, this guy George Bailey. The big event is he saves his brother's life, and by saving his brother's life, this implicated all these other events and these people, and it was, it made his life wonderful, even though he wasn't necessarily enjoying his life. And for each of us, we, in the end, when we're done, we have this impact, on the world. And if you have kids, or you make the decision not to have kids, even that choice, it has a future impact, because in a way you're going to be responsible for what those kids do. The Hitler family, the Hitler parents might have had great lives as individuals, or even as a married couple, but obviously their life was shit because their son was shit. And that's the catch. um, uh, I guess obviously we would all like to have a life that meets that, the minimum standard of better than worse, that we had more of a positive impact, or not a parasite or a destruction to, um, we left the world better than when we got here, that kind of idea. But it gets so complicated because you just change the scenario a little, and in the movie, and everything goes to hell. Because what if, by saving his brother, in the movie, what if his brother turned into a hero because he saved, all these people on a transport ship, because he shot down this Japanese Zero. Well, what if that Zero pilot, if he had lived, what if he was going to invent a cure for cancer? you know, Now obviously, the equation completely changes, because now, by saving his brother, George Bailey has, condemned people to, another 100 years of dying from cancer. And so then his life is no longer so wonderful, and it might even be shitty. Even though he might have enjoyed it and done wonderful things, as a in terms of his intentions and his other actions in the world, you know, it doesn't matter, because overall, the net equation says, well, no, you had a negative impact on the world, because more people, were harmed than were helped. And for atheists, I think this is very important, because we don't have some easy little, you know 10-step program that says this is how you live a good life. You just follow these simple dopey rules. Thou shalt not stick, a knife in your head. Thou shalt not, uh, kill babies or whatever. And you know you have secured your place in heaven. um, it's just, like I said, for an atheist, it's, we just don't have this simple rule. We don't have this simple guidebook that says, yeah, just do this and you're guaranteed not to fuck up. You're guaranteed to make that minimum standard. Because for us, we have all these complex decisions in life. Like I said, you make the decision to have kids, it's a big decision, because you're going to be responsible for what they become and what they do in the world, and their kids and their kids after that and the kids after that. And that's a little intimidating to me anyway. I mean, it's because you have to always keep that in your back of your mind that you've got to defend your life because you are an atheist, because you do have, there isn't anything else judging you but you. I mean, you've got to make the judgments. You've got to be able to appreciate the existence of this equation, because there isn't something else doing it for you. So I don't know how, I guess this isn't, maybe I don't need to rant forever on this subject. I mean, maybe there isn't that much more to say about it. Let's see if I have any notes here. Of course, can't read them. Well, I guess, part of it is just, your life isn't just what you feel. I mean, it's the net equation isn't, well, how many times did I get laid, and how much how many times did I get a terrible cold, and then we'll measure these two negative, the negative against the positive, and we'll figure out how much life, or how good our life was. And it's really not that simple. I mean, you just can't get away with being that simplistic. You can get away with it, of course. No one's going to stop you. I just mean intellectually and logically, as an atheist, you have to take some responsibility. And maybe since I got another minute or two, this is maybe a good segue into, I want to do some future stuff on the agnostics, because it's almost like it's such a cop-out. I mean, what they can't commit to one or the other, so they just sit in this mushy middle, and I mean, what a way to avoid. You're avoiding all the negative implications, the more burdensome implications, the higher responsibility of being an atheist, and you don't have to necessarily obey any of the commandments either. So it's like you can just play without rules, and that to me is a big cop-out, because I don't think there's really any room for not being able to be decisive one way or the other. It's almost, I have more respect almost for the crazy ass fundamentalists, because at least he had the balls to make a commitment. He can be a little passionate about his life. I mean, it's like agnostics are just, it's like taking no charge. It's like taking no responsibility. It's just a cop-out. It's just I'm going to run away from the thinking because the thinking's too hard, and I can't, because I just don't think there's any room in the factual record for indecisiveness. And if you don't see credibility in religion, there's nothing logically that compels you to invent God. It's just nothing there. There's no universal fact or any aspect of nature that screams out, oh yes, speculate about the existence of God. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And so if you're gonna realize that the fairy tales are just the wishful thinking of ignorant people, you really don't have the choice to sit there and say, well, maybe there was a giant carrot that invented the whole universe. It's just stupid. And but anyway, I probably shouldn't have mixed these subjects, and I probably should have thought of this better ahead of time. But I just think it's, like I said, this has always been, it's something that's always working through my mind. It's just this idea of how can you, I mean, you really can't know for sure whether you're screwing up or not. Whether you're, if I persuade somebody to be an atheist and then they fuck up their whole life and they screw up other people's, we're all taking responsibility for the influence we might have on somebody else. And you can't avoid that in life. I mean, every single thing you do. I mean, you walk up to the mailbox and you might, cause some chain of events that'll lead to something else and something else, and and it's all these unintended consequences. But I guess